Here we go. Hi everyone, and welcome to episode 71 of Midnight Poppyland on the Story Tinker. And today we have Teri and our new host, Shirin.
Hi everybody, I'm Shirin. I live in the Netherlands, but I'm actually half German, half Iranian. I'm an air traffic controller as my normal job, and I write fan fiction on AR3. It's called Little Hamster's Errand Boy, and most people know me as Caesar on Instagram, where I do a lot of like Sims fan art. And I have 2 cats, and for those who are watching this on YouTube, they might pop up in between.
I think I've read the story. I didn't connect that it was you till now, till you said the title. I'm like, oh, okay. And I definitely watched your incredible videos that you do with like the Sims layout and the layout of everything. It's like just the detail is impressive.
Thank you. Yeah, it's my second passion. I spend too much time on computers for sure.
That's awesome.
Thanks.
So, hi, I'm Teri. I'm on Instagram and AO3 as Lady Libras. And I'm also, around Facebook, also as Lady Libras, and basically Lady Libras all over the internet. So if you see a Lady Libras, it's probably me. But yeah, so I'm glad to be hosting again. I think this episode was amazing. So I was so excited when I read it. I'm like, oh, I wonder what we're going to be doing. And then we get
Yes, there's a lot to discuss here. Yeah. All right, so let's start. We have the last couple of panels are repeated in this one, where Julri, every time he says something, I just want to like strangle him. And he's, okay, well, I know, I feel like we could just spend a million years just like being angry at him, but
into the void about Julri, right? Yeah.
And he says, I had a crush on you for the longest time in high school, Poppy. And we're not going to analyze these panels because we already did it last time. I'm just going to read it. I couldn't believe my luck when you agreed to go out with me. I love you so effing much. And she's like, so why did you treat me like dirt? And so that's how it ended, that great, amazing line. And now she continues and she's like, why did you lie to me over and over again? Why did you belittle me and fill me with so much doubt until I didn't know who I was anymore? Like, yes, Poppy. She is not letting him get to her mind. And obviously, like, yes, this is something that it is getting to her in a way. Like, it's impossible for him not to affect her emotionally, but she is standing up for herself.
Yeah. And these are probably questions she's had in her head every time he did this to her. Like, why are you doing this? I mean, why is this happening?
Yeah.
Why she has a chance to ask him.
And she probably get, for like the answers,
Mm-hmm.
I wonder when you say like this is what she was always asking herself, I wonder when she realized that how he was treating her was wrong. Like, was it?
I wonder because her gran and her 2 best friends and Dean all hate him, so she may have been getting some advice from them, like, this isn't normal, you're so great, you're so wonderful, and look at this. And yeah, I mean, we all said last episode he's an expert gaslighter. But yeah, she must have just had some sort of aha moment, and maybe we'll get what that was, but it could have been her walking in on him with Mimi, but it might have been before that. I don't know, brewing in her head, and that was like it, I'm done.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like because she moved to Naren like a couple months before, right? And I think that can definitely help, like just having the physical distance kind of separate better and, meet new people that all treat you differently and, kind of remind you of like your worth and your value. And then you, like, she would travel back to Moonbright and then, he's there treating her like that. And I can imagine that was kind of a click where she's like, no, there are people that treat me better. Like, people I just met treat you better than you do.
Yeah, it's like waking up out of a fog, right? Like, she's just been in this fog induced by him, and then getting that distance and separation, and probably validation from the work she was doing and other things. Like, I am smart, and I do have self-worth, and I am valuable. So.
That, like, we have a flashback to the party that she had at her house party when she got drunk with her cousins and her dean, and she was like, oh, if I ever succeed in breaking up with Julri. So it was definitely on her mind at some point when she moved to Naren.
Yeah, and just finding the catalyst to make her like finally make that break, which was her walking in on him.
Yeah,
even though in his head they weren't totally broken up, but she was done. She's been done. So
what, like throughout this episode, his thinking is just so convoluted. Like I don't even get how like he could ever live in a world where like she walks in on him cheating and she's the bad one. I just don't even get it.
Right?
Yeah, he's a scary narcissist, and I've never dated a narcissist, but I've worked with a narcissist, and let me tell you, trying to make sense of the way their head works is, it's exhausting, because it just doesn't make sense how they get from this point to that point to that point, and what they seize on and what they ignore and everything. And I was so happy when I left that job, because I left that, you know what I mean? And yeah, I was like cringing at everything he's saying. I'm like, I was in a relationship with this person, but I was in a working relationship with this person.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's something. So,
Something.
sorry, I was just gonna say, the way Lily wrote this is just dead perfect.
Yeah. Something just popped into my head, Teri, when you said that like she's been done. I saw this really interesting video that someone made on how guys like really suffer after a breakup and are surprised how like a lot of women bounce back so quickly. And she basically said like the moment that we asked you to change your behavior and you didn't was the moment we started breaking up with you. And like, you know, she was probably crying in her car. Like she was probably crying over you already for some months until she had basically healed. And then she was like, yeah, now we're done, because she'd like already gone through kind of the separation process. So I think that's really like, I thought that was a really interesting take, because I've never really thought about it that way.
Yeah, I mean, we as women, we have to be resilient. It's just part of the world we live in, and the obstacles we face, just going about our daily lives. We have to be tough. We have to learn how to have that spine, you know, that steel spine that we get. And yeah, so I'm not surprised that we heal from this faster, because yeah, like you said, by the time we leave you, we've been done. So
Interesting.
we done been done.
Yeah.
Julri looks at this. He takes a moment to absorb this. And you would think maybe a normal person would be like, maybe I did something wrong. But no, that is not what Julri thinks, because he just takes it and just finds a way to spin it about her. So now I'm responsible for how you're feeling? Oh my gosh. And Poppy says, no, you're not. And then the next line that she says is just, you have to like put this on the billboard of Times Square. She says, but there's a difference between you being responsible for my feelings and you taking responsibility for your actions. And if you can't tell the difference between the two, then all the more reason for me to leave.
Yeah, I mean, no, the way she delivers this so calmly, like I'd be crying and yelling and being, you know what I mean? And she's just like, no, and this is why. And you need to take responsibility for this as a grown ass man. So yeah.
Yeah, she's so like elegant about it, which to me is even more incredible, because we saw how she reacted when she was on the phone with him. He made her so angry that she like punched the wall or whatever it was, you know. She was so mad. So I can only imagine that she's probably carrying that same level of aggression inside her, but she's choosing not to act on it.
She's roiling inside, you know what I mean? Like everything is just firing inside, but she's got that calm exterior, and she's just not going to give him the power and let him see what he's doing to her. She's not giving him the satisfaction. Like, you're not going to see it. You know, I will deal with it internally.
Yeah.
Once I walk away from you, then I can have my, you know what I mean? But you're not seeing this. You don't have that privilege anymore.
I love that you said that, because a lot of people on Patreon, like a couple of people were questioning, like, why didn't she like, you know, really lay in on him? And several people responded back that would just give him, like you said, power. That would give him satisfaction to know how much he rattled her. And this is like, and you know, you also see by his reaction, which we'll see a bit later, how he is rattled by how strong she is and how uncaring she seems.
She's just done. Like, here's our final conversation. I want you out of my life as soon as possible. Go away.
And we see by how he reacts later on that he really is rattled by her lack of emotional response, seemingly.
Yeah.
Because he's expecting her to cry and wail and be like, oh, I still love you, you awesome man. And she's just like, bye.
Also, though, why has he not, like, he's like, I love you and all of that stuff, and he wants her back. where was he? Why did he not go to Naren? Like,
He
go
doesn't love her.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's all about like her coming to him, not him going to her.
Yeah.
I think in his twisted head, him going to her would show
Yeah.
weakness. So she's got to come crawling back, even though he's the one stalking her while she's in Moonbright right now. She's not trying to find him, he's stalking her. So,
You know, when they're breaking up, he's like not willing to invest anything into her.
no.
But yeah, that actually leads me to a good question. Like, do you think that in his mind, like to the extent that he actually thinks about it, do you think he actually wants to get back together with her? And I can imagine why he would want someone like Poppy, because he can use her and he can just be in power over her. But like, do you think that like he actually would have pursued her at some point again, or he would have just like let her go and then she just happened to come back to Moonbright? So he's like, well, I'll take advantage while she's here. I'll go harass her.
I mean, I think he misses being in control of her. But I think, you know, it honestly would have been, all it would have taken for him to find somebody else, you know, that he could do that to. And then, because that's all, it's not love. It's just, I can control you and I get off on that. So, but you have to come to me and you have to be in my space. I'm not going to your space. So of course he jumps right back on this because he's like, yay, she's back. I can get her back under my control again. And she's moved on. So it's him facing this, that, yeah, your little toy has left the building. So
yeah. And I thought as well that like they got together in high school, so she was used to him and she stayed with him for a long time, you know, because it's what she knew. And I think for him it's probably the same, you know, like we saw, have we seen this already? I think so. Where, yeah, I think so. Yeah, of course we have. Sorry. Where she like calls him and she like made dinner and things like that. So it really seemed like there was a level of domestication as well while they lived in Moonbright together, where she kind of, yeah, you know, took care of the house a little bit, I guess, because I did not see him doing any of that. So
I don't get the sense they live together. What do you think? I mean, especially if they didn't have sex.
You know, she was just graduated from college, so maybe they were on the same campus. But honestly, when she walked in on him with Mimi, I don't think that was the first time he cheated on. He's probably been cheating on Poppy the whole time. I think that's just the first time she saw it, like she walked in on it. So I have no idea where I was going with that, but I'm just like, yeah, he's been cheating on her probably since at least college, but I wouldn't be surprised, you know, in high school too. And
but I think he was like a comfortable cushion, you know.
Sure, it's familiar.
He wouldn't want to have a relationship with Mimi because otherwise he would be with her now.
Oh yeah, she was just a piece of tail, you know what I mean? Again, he's a user and abuser of women. Women are objects. So Poppy wasn't putting out, therefore he had no choice but to get it elsewhere. I actually had a guy say that to me when I was a freshman undergrad, and I broke up with him. He's like, if you don't sleep with me, I'm going to cheat on you. I'm like, you would cheat on me anyway. Bye. And he couldn't believe it. And I was in New York and he was in Pennsylvania. And I remember him driving 4 hours to where I was to show up at a party I was at because he could not believe I dumped him. And I was just like, go. I was like, go away. I'm not sleeping with you.
Well, at least he was willing to come to you, like the bar is so low.
I
Julri wouldn't even do that.
When I was done, I was like, bye. See ya.
By the way, I don't think Mimi would be the kind of girl he wants her to be in a relationship with, because she does seem pretty strong-minded.
Yeah,
exactly.
But anyway, like going back to Poppy's line, I think that's an amazing line because, you know, there is truth to the fact that to some extent you're the one responsible for your feelings, right? But on the other hand, a person doing actions, right? Like obviously sometimes somebody does an action that isn't meant to be hurtful, right? And then a person gets hurt because of their personality, because of their experience, and maybe it triggers something. So there is an element to being responsible for your own feelings, but it's so true. Like it's not one way. It has to go both ways with being responsible for your actions as well. And it's just like the perfect balance between being responsible and psychologically healthy and like owning your feelings and working through them, and also expecting a healthy, reciprocal, respectful relationship from the other person. It's just so perfect.
It's brilliant the way she wrote this. It's just incredible. Like I was reading, I'm like, this is so good. This is so well done.
And honestly, I actually think it's something that's very prevalent, like in our, like the young generation, where there's kind of this expectation that everyone else has to be responsible for their feelings. And, this is just such a healthy split, you know.
Yeah, it's like you were always responsible for your actions and you have to own them, whether
Yeah.
it makes you uncomfortable or not. You know what I mean? It's not up to someone else to own your actions. It's part of growing up and being mature, but it's also part of being in like a good society that we hold each other accountable for the shit we do. So brava, Poppy, good on you.
Absolutely. I think she's so mature.
At this moment, we have our dashing professor approaching, and we were all wondering, like, is Tora, it was a big debate. It was like, we want Tora to smack, we all wanted Tora to like smack him, and like to just like beat him up, but we also wanted him to like allow Poppy to stand up for herself. And we got both of our wishes satisfied, because that's exactly what he does.
Yeah, because I was on the side of like she needs this for closure. She needs to be able to say what she wants to say to him. But God, it would be delicious if he just smacked the hell out of him. So thank you for both, because she needs.
It's so.
I'm rereading. I think it's episode 47 when he's like, Poppy, who did this to you? Remember that part and then now he's sitting here watching. That's just the person that did this to her. And I think this is why he's like, she needs this catharsis of wrapping this up, but it's probably taking everything in him not to just swoop in there and grind this guy's face into the gravel. But yeah, he's also extremely emotionally intelligent, Tora. He really is.
Yeah, especially because I think Poppy never explicitly said, right? She was never like, oh, my boyfriend did this, my boyfriend did that. He probably also, because of his like own experience, he's just able to gather what it must feel like for her. And probably because like if he ever had a chance to stand up to Vincent, like he would want to be the one doing it. It would, he understands. And I really appreciate the fact that Lily's not only like showing him standing aside, like she could have just had him enter when he says Poppy line and we don't know that he's been standing there listening. But the fact that she clearly shows he's here and he's hearing this and he's making a conscious choice not to step in because he knows that she wouldn't want him to. Like that to me is, can he get any more perfect? I mean,
I know, and it's all within like what 3 weeks since they first met each other, and I think she mentioned him once specifically, right, when they were up and she was braiding his hair and they're sitting there. She mentioned that one time, and then he picked up on it when they were in his apartment, and she was just like, "You're not going to get mad at me for being upset with you, And now we see exactly why she would ask that question, because here's Julri with a face like a thumb, just being such a dick.
Help himself. He's like, damn it, just stay put, don't be a dick. You can see he wants to go, like he has to tell himself to stay. He is already riled up, and but yeah, like he's willing to call himself a dick if he would go in. Like this man is not afraid of kind of like calling right and wrong, right? And and then he leans back against the car and just like kind of rubs his shoulders. It's like, she's put up with this bullshit for years. This is a score she'd want to settle herself. Who am I to interfere anyway? Which is like a little sad. It's like, Tora, you might not be calling each other boyfriend, girlfriend yet, but you sure act like it.
Well, he was panicking too when he was trying to find her. I think partly that was him panicking, like, what if she gets back together with this guy? What if I lost my chance? I think that was part of it. And then on the other hand, he just knows on some level that this guy was really awful to her. So it's like a two-sided coin with him, with the panic. And that's where the who am I to interfere? Anyway, it's like, does she even give a shit? Like that, And she does, but.
Yeah, it's sad that they both feel that way about each other. And Poppy even later says that in the episode too, where she's like, who am I good enough? Like they both have this feeling of like, we're not good enough for each other.
I just want to take their heads together and smash them, like just kith already, it's just like, stop, talk to each other, like just be brave and just lay it out there. And I know we'll get that eventually, but it's like waiting is exquisite pain.
Yeah. I wanted to talk about the cigarette comment that he makes,
Yeah.
because that didn't need to be there. And I didn't pick up on it. I was like, oh yeah, it's just Tora. But somebody, I think on Patreon, commented about the significance of him mentioning he doesn't have cigarettes because he wants one, meaning he is stressed, and also to help him calm down and keep his emotions in check a little bit. So yeah, I think that's kind of a like prelude to the bitch slap.
Well, yeah, and she set that up when they were in the alley and facing off against those other thugs, and he had a cigarette, you know what I mean? Because he was just like calming down, and now we're in this, that was the setup for this. He doesn't have that mechanism that he uses to like stable himself out, so he's roiling, you know, right now, all sorts of emotions, and yeah. Looks cool while he's doing it though.
And now, do you guys remember? I totally forgot. Where was that? Where was the second person supposed to take over?
Happy Land.
Where was it?
When he says her name.
Okay. And Poppy's like, I need to go now, take care of Julri, which is again is so the high road. She's like, and people are also saying like, and I think you said this, right? There's no point in arguing with a narcissist, like you're wasting your breath. So she's like, goodbye, we're done. Like there's nothing to say anymore. And like she ends up with take care Julri. Like, hello, this lady has got class.
Yeah, very much so. She's very classy. Because I'd be like, eat shit and die, Julri. Bye. You know what I mean? And she's like, take care. Which is also just such a cold dismissal. Like, wow.
Maybe she'll find the voodoo doll at Granny's place and, you know, get all of that out still.
You know?
Yes, yes.
I think Granny also already clawed off the dick, right? Because she had the
Yeah.
That's already like in pieces. So I don't need a new one.
She starts taking her scooter, you know, it clunks and it thumps, she's pushing it. And oh my God, I can't stand this guy. Julri just looks at her and he looks so hurt that she's leaving him. He's like, how is this happening? Why is she not more riled up? Why is she not crying and sobbing? And I think
he's like confused and pissed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's just like, I'm the best thing ever. Like, how can she walk away from me? Like, I don't get how she's doing this.
He can't let it go. He has to keep digging his own grave because he's so foolish. He thinks that like he's actually going to get anywhere. That's how wrapped up in his own stupidity he is. And he's like, I'll tell you why I did all that. It's because you never let me in, no matter what I do for you. You wear that cheerful, happy persona like it's some kind of armor. And you just make me feel so damn insecure about myself. And Poppy's still pushing the scooter. So how about you take responsibility for that?
And I love that she has her back to him and she's just walking away while he's ranting about this. But yeah, that was infuriating.
It's such bullshit.
It is. It's complete.
Her making him feel insecure.
It's not her job to make him feel secure. You know what I mean? It's not your job, our job to make our partner, our boyfriend, husband, whatever, feel like a man. You know what I mean? That's not our job. And obviously he's just got a huge gaping hole inside. He's empty. He's just a self-centered, empty, insecure mess.
He's incredible. I've had arguments with people like this, you know, like you said, where you can never be right.
Mm-mm.
And even if they're like outright contradicting themselves, they are still in the right. And it's just, I don't know if you have this saying in English, but in Germany, we have this saying that's like, the smarter one gives in.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah, like if, you know, whoever has like more brains basically just gives way and it's like, okay, you know what, just
not worth my time.
Yeah.
Not worth my time. Yeah.
I do think Julri says one interesting thing though, which is that she wears the happy persona like armor. Because
Not a complete fool, I guess.
Yeah, I do think that that is in a way correct. And it also makes me wonder, and I've been wondering this for a while, how well do we actually know Poppy? You know, because I feel like at least me in the beginning, you know, I took that as like at face value. I was like, oh, she's so quirky and cute. And I wonder like how much of that is actually her, you know?
I think just because the trauma she's had, starting with her mother and then the death of her father, and, you know, she probably learned, you know, to put on this happy armor, I'm good, and it probably started as maybe something not to worry her grandmother.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And yeah, like you just said, a lot of us do it. We put on this face And we all have protective armor in whatever ways. But yeah, I mean, I think that she has depths. I do think that she is that charming and cute and elegant, but she has depth. I mean, and she has, obviously she's got anger she's pushed down, and you know that she has to work through, and she's got things she still needs to work through. And I think though this kind of anger, but also like how to say it, but there's a reason why her and Tora connect on like this really like minute level, like why they're kind of tethered together, because they're really similar in a lot of ways. And she just hides it behind this happy facade she has to do, while he hides it behind, I'm this tough badass and I don't have feelings and I'll just kill you as soon as I look at you. You know what I mean? So yeah, I mean, she had a lot of trauma really young, and to get through it and to make the people around her comfortable, I'm okay, I'm happy, I'm fine, I'm good. You know what I mean? It's protection.
I also think like you're right that it's a coping mechanism. And her dad, he died when she was like a teenager, right? Is that correct? I can imagine that this is who she used to be.
Sure.
And that, you know, that's when her life was good and she had her dad and everything. And that when things get tough, like it's easy to kind of refer back to like a previous self. I don't know, we need Patty on this one, you know?
Well, I mean, we all have multiple selves, right? Yeah. And yeah, I mean, as you go through life, you change, and it's not like a splintering, but it's kind of like a growth and a layer. You get more layers. If you have trauma really young, like I've had trauma really young, and it made me pull myself inward and just keep a lot to myself. And I have a poker face, and I don't like let a lot show, even though I might be feeling a lot on the inside.
Yeah.
And that was my coping mechanism. And I remember what I was like before that trauma, but I am still the same person. I just grew and expanded myself. And I think that's what she's doing right here too. This is a big turning point in her life where she's growing, and the past her, the one that was with Julri, is now going away, and now she's moving in a different direction, and she's growing more and expanding out more, because you know, we all know stuff's coming down the pike, and she's going to have to handle it, and there's going to be sacrifices. We don't know what they are, but I mean, it's either you grow and you change and you adapt, or you curl up in a little ball and you hide for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
So
I guess really, you know, there's been a couple of true things that he said, so I guess he's not completely stupid. And she keeps walking away, doesn't look at him, says, fine, I will. And then she does turn around, and the artwork is so gorgeous. So you just see like everything's flapping in the wind. It's really beautiful. And she turns around and with a super determined look on her face says, I'll take responsibility and break up with you for good, so you can find someone who won't make you feel insecure.
Delicious. So good, so proud. And of course he's standing there looking like a thumb, you know, like how I just don't understand how this is happening.
It's like the opposite of what he wanted. Like he wanted her to be like, oh, like, I'm so sorry, I made you feel insecure, I'm coming back. And she's like, oh, if I made you insecure, go be happy, go be with somebody else. And he's like,
that's not what I want. Yeah,
that's not the script. You went
yeah, you're going off script here. What's going on?
Perfect. It's so well done. Yeah. And she looks at him with a glare. It's a glare.
Ooh, I just love this panel. Yes. Yeah, it's great. Just cold, just like, bye. You're nothing to me. Just leave me alone. We're done.
Thank you. We all are so excited to see this. I literally opened the door and put the cat in the room and closed the door. Thank you, kids. Oh, goodness. Anyway, so she's pushing it away, and he just can't stop. He's like, stop right there, puppy. You never used to be this way. See what I mean? I said you change if you went to the city, and I was right. And then we had Puppyland. And
I love how this is where I pick up part two. I love her expression. I mean, she's like, oh Lord. But then he's also finally looking away from her. This is the first time he looks away from her. He looks over to see this magnificent specimen, coming towards, but she's just like, Tora's here, you know, you can just see that bubble. And he's just coming out of the gloom. I love it. Like he's still all in dark, but he's coming out of the gloom, walking towards them. And she's like, Tora. And I love how they both completely just ignore Julri. Like he ceased to exist here. Like, and they're just falling right into their banter as usual. It's like, why are you here? I'll help. Is it out of gas? Yeah, she is. I love the scooter's female. But I can manage the gas stations just across the road. You sure? She looks pretty heavy. Rude. And then you cut. Julri just standing there like, hello, I'm right here. And of course,
no one needs you, Julri. Take the hint.
Yeah, bye. Just turn around. Like, keep some dignity. What little dignity you have, turn around, go back to your car, and just drive away.
Yeah.
And of course, he can't do this. He thinks he still owns Poppy and that she's accountable to him. So he's like, who is he? And there's a pause. And then she turns and she goes, he's my uncle.
And
I was just like, oh, come on. And I'm like, Poppy.
I thought legitimately in this moment, I was like, is Tora gonna just kiss her just to be like, are you kidding me? Like, really? I would have loved it, but I mean, of course he doesn't. But it's just, I did not see the uncle thing coming. I was like, really?
And just his reaction, I laughed so hard when I saw the sigh and the eye roll, just like, here we go again. She's being ridiculous. He's just sigh.
Yeah, she starts out with this like very like angry expression, like I'm gonna show you and then she just goes like, my uncle, like
uncle. Because in her head she's like, what I call him. She's like, I don't know where she got uncle. I saw people are commenting like, he's not uncle, he's daddy, and I'm like, oh god.
Okay, well he definitely knows he's not her daddy, but yeah.
And then
but I guess I just want to say, like, the fact to me that she's still not even gonna call him a friend, it's just like you really see she's still at the point where she just doesn't know what kind of relationship she wants with Tora. And you know, we're all like, you love each other and you're gonna be married and like destined to be together forever, duh. But neither of them are there yet. And it's like we're waiting.
Remember, it's been like what, 3 weeks? Mm-hmm. I mean, for us, you know, we're reading this in tiny little pieces and it seems like it's been months and months, but it's literally been 3 weeks. So that they've known each other. And since she walked in on Julri with Mimi, so yeah, of course, she's going to need time to figure out all this. And this whole thing, closing off her relationship, ending her relationship totally with Julri, needed to happen before she can move forward with Tora. So this was not going to happen until Julri, she had closure with that.
But I also wonder if the fact that it's Julri she's talking to plays into what she calls him. Like, obviously, in front of her granny, she wouldn't call him her uncle because, she wouldn't know. But I also feel like maybe she doesn't want to be like, oh, he's my friend or like he's my new beau or whatever, because she doesn't want to rely on that. So I really hope in the next few weeks, our time, Tora gets to meet Granny, and I'm so curious how Poppy is going to introduce him then, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm really hoping that it's something a little bit more dignified than that. But also,
it's like, it's not Julri's business who he is.
Yeah.
So it's like, none of your business. He's my uncle.
Yeah. I also thought, like, because Poppy asked him why he's here, but she sent him a text. Like, she sent him a text saying, I'm going to Moonbright. Do you want to come?
Yeah.
And she's not been looking at her phone. Like, it's really possible that she had connection and the text sent and he just followed. And she's like, why are you here? It's like, well, you asked him to come, girl.
Yeah. I think that's just still the self-doubt. Like, you know, she had asked Julri to come to Nair and he wouldn't have. And it's just kind of like the shock that Tora follows through. You know what I mean? So she asked him to come, he gets in a car and comes. And she's not used to that at all yet.
Yeah. But I was so proud that she did ask. And I think it also shows that, like, he is something to her because she was in a really distressed situation, like worried about her granny, and she wanted him there. And I think that's like a big thing to ask.
It is. Yeah. And it shows progress and growth. So our sentient thumb goes, your uncle. Don't lie to me. And he's just got such a punchable face. Oh my gosh. You did meet someone else. I was right. No, the hypocrisy here is just so, oh my God. She literally walked in on you with another woman and you're sitting here screeching about her meeting someone after she broke up with you. Like, this is none of your business at all.
Yeah.
And you can tell Poppy's just like, oh, he's like a bad rash. He just won't go away. And with weeks of our breakup, he got over me pretty damn quick, huh? So much for being a loyal girlfriend, huh, Poppy? I mean, so he's just kind of like hitting her as low as he can get. You know, like he's the one that was the cheater, but he's twisting it on her and trying to make her feel like she's actually the cheater and she's not.
And I think the way he's like he is being aggressive right now, I think.
Mhm.
Like the questions, the huh, you know,
Yeah,
it's
for
basically,
sure.
he's basically screaming, punch me. Like, honestly, this is the way you start a fight.
Yeah, and it's funny that he's directing this at Poppy because he's like, I can take Poppy. I mean, no, you can't. She'd kill you. But you know, he's not acting all big and manly and tough against the really tall guy standing next to Poppy. It's all at her. So that's his target. He's a coward. You know what I mean? So he'll go after what he sees as the weaker person to get his jollies.
But I think what he does, like the way he does address Tora, which you will read for us, is worse than coming at Tora. What he does is so much worse.
I snarled. I literally was like, I guess 3 months is enough time to snag a fancy looking city schmuck. Try supermodel the world, dude. That's what he looks like. And Pop just looks down. Sorry I had to hear that, bro. No offense, but from one man to another.
But
First
by the
of
way,
all,
so
child.
yeah. Before we even do that, like Poppy's expression here, like she's been strong all along, but here it does look like what he's saying is getting to her. And, you know, it's not surprising because it takes a long time to get out of the mentality of, you know, feeling guilty for everything, feeling like you're at fault for everything. And I think there is an element though which we don't think is justified, but she seems like she does feel guilty about, you know, maybe finding someone new or wanting someone new, which, you know, we're like, don't feel guilty, but she does because he's been with her for 6 years and he's been getting in her mind and twisting it and making her feel bad for everything.
Yeah, I mean, he knows how to push her buttons and he knows what hurts her. And he knows, you know, like she values herself in a certain way. So let me try to tear that down as much as I can. Yeah.
Do you also feel like maybe she's different now because Tora's there? Because like the whole time she didn't know he was there. She was very, like we said, very composed. And then he showed up and then she didn't know what to say anymore. That's why she was like, he's my uncle. You know, she was just like, I don't know what to say. And maybe it's, you know, maybe it does get to her that she's like, wow, like Tora's hearing all these horrible things about me.
I mean, I'm sure she's embarrassed on some level that Tora's witnessing this. You know, I'm mortified. I would be absolutely mortified. You know, this guy who I like is standing here listening to this ex say this to me. That's mortifying. You know, she's probably deeply embarrassed, but also like, will Tora believe him? So he does the hit.
Probably also just throws her off. Like,
sure,
it's just hard to be, you know, it's hard to argue in front of people. I mean, at least I find it like I can't argue with my husband in front of other people. It's like, I don't know.
Yeah. So. And just the whole incel from one man to another, you know, those kind of guys, they're just like Neanderthals, like knuckle draggers. Like, if this is the kind of girl you're interested in, better think twice.
It's so disrespectful. Yeah, incel is
You're a whore. I mean, let's be real. That's what he's saying. He's like, she's a whore. She cheats. She's a whore, which is completely false. And Tora knows this, but he's still saying this in front of Tora to her. So
I didn't actually interpret that this kind of girl as being directly related to what he said. I just thought he meant like just a collective judgment of Poppy as a whole, like whatever negative things he's like, oh, you're not interested in her, like she's weak, she's this, she's that. Like I didn't necessarily relate it to what he said right before, but yeah, I mean, either way, it's highly disgusting.
That's what I thought as well. And the fact that he just assumes that any other guy, right, any other guy that he knows nothing about, that this other guy would automatically also be a sexist pig. That's so horrifying. Is this like, oh, he'll back me up? Like, he's a dude. He won't say anything about the way I treat women.
Yep.
You know, and I think a lot of guys do feel empowered by that, you know?
Yeah, there's definitely a certain subset of guys that, you know, sit in basements and rail about women and how we're all, you know, bitches and whores and only dating chads or, you know, whatever, all that crap. And obviously Julri is about to join their ranks because he just got dumped. So, you know, he's going to go in his mom's basement and he's going to be going on those forums.
I want to see a basement scene. I really do.
I know, in his underwear, crumbs on his face. And then we get the slap heard around the world with blood.
I feel bad for celebrating violence, but like,
I know. But some people just deserve to get slapped, and this is one of them. And he basically slaps him into, like, you know, a decade from now. Like, he just slapped him into another, like, time zone.
the boy flies.
He goes flying. Well, I mean, I don't know. Julri's not a big guy. Tora is. Maybe like Tora, like 6'4" or something like that. And just monstrously strong. And the size of his hand against Julri's face. And the fact that it's an open palm slap too, like that's just so deliciously insulting to Julri. It's just like, you're such a little worm. You're not even worth me like exerting.
Wasn't it like the back of his hand?
Was it the back of his hand? I always thought it was like,
yeah, I
he's
thought
going like this is what I thought he was doing.
Yeah. Because Julri's head is like flying, like, you know, flying.
So
I
his
don't
hands
know,
coming like
myself.
he's just like whack.
Yeah.
Anyway, you hit him, it's good with me.
Yeah.
And he just basically, yeah. Where are we starting? The third?
Oh, yeah. Well, okay, I guess, yeah, I didn't really quite divide it very well.
Oh, but like
Maybe we should
slap,
do
and
like-
then he goes,
go
like,
for-
it's now 2031 for Julri.
Yeah, I think you can go a little bit longer.
Okay.
Mhm.
So yeah, I love his arms are a blur. I mean, I can't remember who said it, but it's like he just like, he's traveling so fast, his arms blurred out, and he just hits the ground. And Poppy's like, her expression here, where she's like, Tor, but she's not like, oh, stop, oh no, oh anything. She's just like, Tor. And then he's standing over him. And you can feel like just his stance. He's got this whole internal dialogue because you know he wants to do more. He probably wants to kick him. He probably wants to.
Yeah.
But he's just standing there.
Hair is flying. The fact that his hair is flying, I think, is a mark of his internal state of wildness.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, because he does not look calm and composed by any stretch here.
The eyes are amazing, and we're only seeing them from the side. There's so much expression in there.
And I think when he hears her voice, it pulls him back. You know what I mean? Which is, again, another, it shows their connection that she can do that. Like she just says his name, Tora, and then she can pull him back from this precipice.
Yeah, Poppy looks very, very shocked at this point. The first panel, no, but the second panel, and I think it's because she sees how wild his eyes are.
Yeah, and she's like, oh shit, I need to stop this because, yeah, it's gonna get worse.
I wonder, like,
and then the difference in his eyes between his two panels. Like the profile, you can see the one panel, his eyes are very wild. She says Tora, and then his eyes change, and it's so subtle, but it's there. And it's almost like he sighs.
He hurt her, and he's getting like drawn back to like, you know, go down to earth.
And takes off his coat because he was about to have a beat down. And then he's like, oh fuck, my teeth, and then the blood is dripping on the cobblestones. And obviously
his jacket, which we're all like,
but to get serious. Took off the blazer. And then this really great panel where she just slides her small little hand into his hand, and he grips it. And again, she's his tether. She's tethering him back. If you ever come near her again, I'll break every fucking bone in your body. You got that? And I'm laughing, but his like legs are shaking, and he's panting, and he's stumbling, and he's like, shit. And you can see just the mark and the blood. And his ear is probably ringing from the strength of it. And he's like, I won't, shaking. And then he Tora looks at me and he's like, get the fuck out of my sight. Like, again, we're done with you. Go away. This is over. And he
afterwards.
looks stunned. Julri looks stunned. They're like, who is this guy? Where does he come from? And he just gave me the smack of my life, and I'm so humiliated. And then what cracked me up in this panel when he's running away from his car, because I think he pulled up in that white car when he first came to the garage, and now he's completely just leaving his car and like running. So he's just getting out of Dodge right now.
I mean, in a place like Moonbright,
yeah,
it doesn't matter if you're
yeah. His house is probably like a block and a half away. But it's just, he's so like, terrified he just leaves. And I really hope he takes this seriously and he just goes away, because sometimes guys like this, they'll be humiliated for a while, but then they'll talk themselves back around in their head, how they were right and they were justified and how dare, you know what I mean? So I really hope he just stays gone. Like, he takes this lesson and he learns it and leaves.
Do you not think he might go to the police or something like that? Like, this is what I was wondering, right? Because he doesn't know Tora's background. To him, it's just this like asshole that slaps him and that's like way out of his mind.
Yeah.
And I can see Julri being like, how dare he treat me like this in my hometown?
Yeah.
I know the cops here. Like, I don't know. I could see it. I could see him stirring up some shit still.
Probably. That wouldn't surprise
doesn't
me.
know when to stop.
That wouldn't surprise me at all.
Both ways, meaning in terms of personality, I do think it's more likely like for him to be a whiny baby about it. But in terms of the story, maybe Lily wants to like put this to rest. So I don't know. Either way.
But didn't she say Poppy's uncle? Was it her uncle?
Right, Larry. Yeah.
Yeah. So if he went into the police, he'd be running to Poppy's uncle. Poppy's uncle would call her and she'd be like, he was doing this to me. And then they'd be like, okay. You know what I mean? So I think that's why her uncle's the cop.
Yeah, maybe.
Whose side is he going to take? His niece's or her abusive ex?
I mean, it's not supposed to be that way, but
Hope.
It would definitely be a good source of drama if he reported him to the police and see what happens next, and maybe Lane will get involved. What's his record? Blah blah blah. It definitely would be dramatic.
Yeah.
I just hope this him running away like the little whiny baby he is the last time we really see him.
Amen. Yeah, so Shirin, you want to take over from here?
Sure. And I would love now, after the lamp incident, if we could go back and like look at Poppy's expression and talk about that on the side.
Sure.
But yeah, basically Julri runs away and we've got Poppy like looking at Tora, like we see her behind his shoulder, and she looks like, I don't know what that expression is, if it's like skeptical or like worried, but he's not done with his aggression and he basically takes it out on this lamppost that he just rips out of its hinges or whatever it's attached to, and smashes on the ground. And we can see Poppy looking worried, concerned, shocked. This is why I want to go back to it, because I'm like, what's actually going on inside of her? And yeah, like there's a sweat drop dripping down her face, there's a badump. She's biting her lower lip and her eyebrows are like deeply furrowed, and she stares at him. And I read this as she doesn't know what to expect now.
I found it pretty scary, honestly. I had an uncle who used to throw tantrums like this when I was a kid, and he had trauma in his upbringing and whatever combined with his aggressive personality to begin with. But yeah, he used to throw stuff like this, and it was, I don't know, even if at some point as a kid it stopped being scary because we were also used to it and the whole family kind of made fun of him, which also wasn't the best reaction because it's like he had to go to therapy clearly, but it's scary to see someone act like that in front of you. I was unsettled by seeing this. As much as I love Tora and we all love Tora, it was, and we understand why he reacts like this, it was still scary for me as a reader to see this.
Yeah, I mean, I think she's shocked because I don't think she's seen this side of him or him really act like this. And again, this is like someone's property he just destroyed.
And she knows
Darleen.
She knows her.
What?
Yeah.
Must point out that Darlene on Patreon has said that she's perfectly fine with Tora destroying her property.
Oh, I am sure that she is.
So she's watching the CCTV footage and enjoying it very much.
Rewind, rewatch, rewind, rewatch.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, in real life, not so great.
And I'm sure her adrenaline is still like super high just from her whole encounter, her interaction with Julri. And then she just watched Tora bitch slap Julri. And I mean, I think she probably understands that he's doing to this pillar what he wanted to do to Julri. And I'm sure she's concerned about like the lack of control that he's demonstrating here. We all would be.
In my, like, when I was a young person at 20 and naive, if I would have seen this kind of behavior from someone I was in love with, I would have been like, oh, that's okay, he'll never do it to me. Now at 32, if someone I was in a relationship with do this, instant out, goodbye, talk to me in 3 months when you're done with intensive like therapy or something.
Therapy. Yeah.
I've had a boyfriend like throw a key at me, you know, and that already I was like, that could have hit me, you know, like that's, you're doing it to make a point. You're like, oh, like I'm done, you know, like I'm like, that's horrible. Don't throw shit to make a point, you know.
And I think, you know, Tora, he's got work he needs to do too, with his anger and his lack of control here, and using cigarettes as a coping mechanism, you know, to prevent himself from getting to this point. Like he needs to learn some healthier coping mechanisms, and he needs to, you know, really work on this anger. But I also think this is probably why Poppy's coming into his life, because she will be the catalyst to help him do this. But I agree with you, Mindy, like if I was 21, I'd be like, oh, but now, yeah, I'd be like, your ass is going in therapy, you're not talking to me till we're done. If I even still want to talk to you, I need to think about it, you know. Because it's kind of a red flag.
Yeah, that is why I'm so curious about what Poppy is actually feeling right now. Because they don't talk about it, you know, they don't talk about it now. Like,
No.
get to that, they're both masters of deflection and, you know, kind of sidelining conversations. And the moment that he kind of breaks this aggressive tension and he goes to like your uncle, you know, and he's referring to that moment, that was kind of like the comedic relief of this scene.
I mean, the fact that he came down so fast from the aggression is a positive sign. You know, he wasn't ranting and raving for like half an hour. It was like he broke this, he gave himself pause. So it's like there's hope for the future with Tora, that he can work through this and learn to handle these emotions better.
We definitely know there's hope because this is a romance and, you know, he's the male lead. So like, and Lily is a healthy writer. So we know that the point of this story is going to be him working through his anger. And we also should point out, I mean, everyone who's reading this knows, where did he get it from? By growing up in the mafia. Obviously, Vincent, you know, we know in 36 was, you know, smashed that statue. Clearly, you know, Tora learned a lot from his father figure. And, you know, and you know, he's kind of like a child soldier in many ways, which is like, he's been trained to be violent. And he says that about himself. He said that multiple times about himself, that he's just a weapon of destruction and that he's just a violent person. So, I mean, obviously self-awareness is the first step to change, right? So Tora does know that about himself. But I think that it's for sure something that they're going to have to discuss, because you can't just let it go.
No.
But what is that like? Again, I'm just trying to understand Poppy's expressions, because like, it could be anything, because he says like, your uncle, seriously? And then I don't know why, but to me she looks like those like wavy cats. It's like her eyes are like wide and like almost happy looking, and like, how do you interpret, like, what is she feeling now? She's like, oh, he's fine, cool, like, what is this?
She's also happy for the diversion. I think she's happy not to talk about it now, because I mean, she had a very crazy day to begin with. The Gil thing in the morning, grandma lying to her, you know, Julri confrontation. I don't think she's ready to talk about Tora, you're a violent person right now. I think she's quite ready to leave it for another day.
I saw like people commenting that, you know, oh, maybe it turns her on.
I saw that too.
Like, I don't think so.
Yeah, she looked scared. She looked scared
Yeah.
when he was doing that. She
Yeah.
kept saying, Tora, that wasn't the sign of someone turned on. Sorry.
Yeah.
No, and she's definitely not the type of girl that would encourage that behavior, and be like, oh, look at my manly man, like breaking shit. No, that's not how she rolls. She knows, this is something, if we're going to go forward, that we have to address. This is not good. This can't fly. So,
yeah.
But again, she's tabling it.
Yeah, exactly. She jumps on that opportunity and she's like, I don't have the quickest witch, okay? Here, you can throw your jacket in the seat, So it's really cute, actually. She's like, oh, do you want to put it in here? You took it off to beat up my ex, but I can carry it for you.
Yeah, I can carry it for you. And I love too that he's all in black. And like he's the source of darkness. She's the source of light, even though they both have darkness in them.
Yeah.
They're like the complementary thing, dark and light, lightness and darkness, that we see a lot. That's kind of symbolism. Yeah, especially when, like, the next panel, when they're both standing next to the scooter.
Yeah, she really stands out.
Yeah.
And he says, you, and it's you, it's not yeah. You couldn't say I'm a friend or a coworker. I'm only 26 this year, for fuck's sake.
Doesn't want to be called old. I was wondering, like, how much. I never thought. I know some people thought that maybe he smashed the pillar because he was obsessed. She called him uncle. That I never thought. But I was wondering if he would get insulted by her not wanting to identify him as, like, even a friend. Like pushing him away and being like, "Oh, I'm not ready for you. I'm embarrassed of you." And I wondered if he would have like a complex about that.
I think on some level, I think mostly what the pillar smashing was just like, that's what he wanted to do to jewelry. He wanted to Hulk smash jewelry. He couldn't do it, so he Hulk smashed a pillar. But yeah, we know, we've seen last season that how she brings him in and pushes him away and pulls him forward and pushes away. Like he gets upset with that. When she tried to dismiss their last kiss, and he was hurt. So yeah, of course, on some level, he's hurt, but I think he also now, especially seeing what she just walked away from, I think hopefully he'll be a little more understanding. Not that he wasn't, but that kind of, yeah.
Absolutely. It's also an interesting parallel, actually, to the alleyway where he really.
Wait, somebody wrote this very, very long comment on Patreon with the whole parallels. I was going to read it at the end because it's amazing.
Okay, I haven't seen that one.
Yeah, I screenshotted it. So I guess when we finish the next few panels, I want to read it. It's probably, and if there's something that she didn't address, yeah, you could go.
Okay, I'll zip it for now. Poppy's line. She says, "In what universe would I have a friend or coworker who looks like you?" Which I was like, why?
Again,
Blazer. Maybe he's a novelist like Quincy.
He's just so beautiful, though.
But yeah, he immediately jumps and he's like, how do I look? And he like touches her hand that's on the scooter handle. And we get another badump, and she blushes and pulls her hand away and like pulls her lip, into her teeth. And I think this is why somebody was like, oh, maybe she was turned on by it because like now, she's flustered. But I do think that in a way, maybe she's just not comfortable touching him right now.
Yeah, she's pretty fragile, but she's also attracted to him. You know what I mean? So him touching her, of course, would give her that little jolt. But again, too, she literally 30 seconds ago just permanently broke up with the guy she'd been with for several years. So yeah, of course, her first instinct is just pull back. I'm not ready. But that doesn't mean she doesn't care. That doesn't mean she doesn't like him. She's just not there yet.
Yeah.
So.
I don't think she was turned on by the smashing. I do think she is turned on by him touching her right now.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, it takes it away because she's just not ready to have that now.
She says, you look very handsome and mature.
And then he blushes.
He has a little blush and he's like, and could you lend me some money for gas in exchange for the compliment? Pretty please. He's like, I fucking knew it. You already know you look good. I don't know why you feel the need to fish for more compliments. And then he says, oh, sorry, there's a motorbike out. He says, I'm getting too many compliments from people, said no one ever.
Like, Poppy, he wants compliments from you, period. Like, he doesn't care if anyone else thinks he's hot. He wants you to tell him that you find him attractive. You know what I mean? And she's just like, la, 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 la.
Yeah. And I love that she remembers Gio. She's like, bah, why do I feel like I've heard something similar from Gio before? And she only like met him once, right? And Tora's like, did you ask why he's got so many jobs? And he's like, oh my God, yes, I think I did. And that's how the conversation like fades away and we enter the next scene. But I guess before that, Mindy, you wanted to talk about the parallels.
And while I pull it up, also somebody on Patreon pointed out that like he's asking her, how do I look? And that's a callback to, I think she was talking about something specific where people were like, judging Tora. And he was like, what do I look like to you? Like, do you think I'm a thug like everyone else thinks of me? So
yeah, when he was in the grocery store when they first went to get food and that man with his son was like, oh, get away from him. And he was just standing there doing absolutely nothing.
Yeah. Except look hot as hell. I miss Thug Tora a little bit. Like Blazer Tora is great, but Thug Tora has my heart.
Joggers and tank top Thora.
Ooh.
Here it is. Okay, so it's Maria E. And I told her on Patreon that I want to use her comment, so I'm just okay with it. She said, I want to say how much I love the inverse symmetry going on in the story. My little pattern-loving brain can't stop comparing tonight in Broom Bright with last night in Air Street. Yesterday, Poppy ran to Tora. She went to find him on his home turf and found him exactly where she thought he'd be. Today, Tora ran to Poppy. He went to find her on her home turf, but it took him hours of searching to track her down. Last night, there was trouble with thugs, and Poppy's little civilian self stepped up to defend Tora when they started disrespecting him. She thought they should have let him handle it from the beginning, but he doubted his self-control, despite the fact that he had defused the situation without getting violent. Tonight, there was civilian flavor trouble, and Tora, the boss-level thug, bitch-slapped Julri into next Tuesday when he started disrespecting Poppy. He tried to let her handle the situation herself, but this time actually snapped and lost control, becoming violent in front of her for the first time. And last night, Poppy got spooked and ran away, leaving Tora completely frustrated. And if the pattern holds the way I'm hoping, there won't be any running away tonight. Maybe, just maybe, the tiger and hamster will get some, quality time alone, etc. But I sort of love how on Aries Street, loud, chaotic, and named for the freaking god of war, nobody there got hurt when fighting and violence is the norm. Whereas in Moonbright, quiet, sleepy little country village, the village idiot got what he deserved, and there was blood and destruction. Further, I love how Tora, taking Poppy's hand, calmed and steadied her after she'd given into flight when he was like, go stand your ground. And then she instinctively took his hand this time, calming him in turn after he'd given it to fight. Just so much, it was perfect.
Yeah, the storytelling and the quality of the writing is just so good. And I think a lot of these parallels are purposeful. Some of them probably, but accidental. But I think a lot of them, she is drawing these very clear parallels, and I love it. This is why we're here on a podcast, picking it to bits, because it's so layered.
Yes.
That we can do this, and the quality of the writing is just incredible.
Yeah. The parallel I was going to talk about is a little bit more like, I think, 1-to-1, and that in the alleyway, like Tora really kept it together. But then this like pent up anger, he let it out presumably later. It wasn't shown to us, but with the La Rosa clan.
Yeah.
So what I at least read from that situation is he basically picked a fight after, away from Poppy, to let out that tension. And now he did slap Julri, which to a degree was deserved. But then after that, he let it out by taking it out on the lamb. So maybe that's a common theme for him, that he kind of like carries the anger from one situation that could, get worse if he lets it out, to one where it's, I don't know, less dangerous or something like that.
Yeah, that shows a quality of him knowing himself, which is good. But yeah, coping is bad. But yeah, because we saw his hand bandaged up.
Yeah.
The next day when he was sitting in the car with Quincy. So yeah, obviously, and he threw the cone at them, the parking cone. So he was definitely picking a fight. So he just needs to learn how to channel all this emotion into something that's not violent. Like, hey, Tora, take up macrame, embroidery, pottery, something, cook. You know what I mean?
Go to the gym. Go to the gym. You know, by the way, I took some kickboxing classes, and the whole time that I was punching the bag, I just kept thinking of Vincent at the time, and a bunch of other just like negative things. Not in my life personally, to think my life is good. I don't have anyone to be angry at really, but like all the terrorists, people who cut people's heads off, and like whatever disgusting things. That's what I think of when I was punching that bag. Like, so.
That's a good way to channel it, especially because those kind of things, you know, they're not something like we would have influence on in a way, you know, there's nothing you can do to those people. So it can lead to a feeling of just like helplessness and feeling overwhelmed. And I get that a lot when I'm like, you know, confronted with so many horrible things happening in the world. And some you have influence on, but most of them you have influence on like indirectly, and it's a long-term thing. And it can make you feel really overwhelmed because you're like, there's nothing I can do. So I think that's actually a really cool way to let that out.
Yeah, I mean, I have a degree in history, so I kind of see the patterns repeating right now, and it's terrifying on a lot of levels. So it's like, again, there's certain things we can control and certain things we can't. And some things we have to sit back and watch and wonder, like, why is this happening? And I mean, I just found myself where I'm like, I can't watch the news. I'll check it on my phone once a day, but I need to figure out some other way so I don't just go insane. So I just started writing more. And, you know, I actually picked up embroidery, which I'd never done before, but I'm like, I just need some way to self-soothe.
Yeah.
To get through this, because this last year and a half or a few years has been really traumatic on a lot of levels for a lot of people. So
super important. I'm totally with you. Like, I used to be a big news person, and now I'm like headlines only. So
yeah.
All right. Are we ready to continue on to Gio?
You.
The boy. Sorry. we're so emasculating. Sorry, Gio.
I love the boy. Yeah, so he sneezes because people are talking about him, and he immediately knows he's in his little security booth at Poppy's apartment. And he says, geez, big bro must be bitching about me again. He's so real. And
He'd be like, someone's walking over my grave or whatever. He's like, no, big bro's bitching about me.
Yeah. He comes out in his like security outfit. And it's obviously the night. It's the same time, I guess, as it was in Moonbright. And he looks up at Poppy's balcony and he's like, Miss Poppy's still not back yet. I love that he calls her Miss Poppy and Quincy calls her Miss.
Respectful. I know. The little gentleman, he really is.
Yeah. And then he thinks, I hope Big Bro already found her at Moonbright, or I'll be dead meat for getting the address wrong. And he looks like this cute little like simple face monkey. I don't know how to describe it. It's such a cute look on him.
Adorable.
Round face. It's so adorable. And his little chin hairs.
Yeah. You know, yeah, we can tolerate the chin hairs on him. We're fine with chin hairs. He's not freaky when he has that.
Gross.
He has more than like 6 stubbles, you know. He's got a proper goatee. Like, it's not everyone's flavor, but it's a choice.
Is it? I don't know. I wonder, does he do it deliberately, or is that the only thing that grows?
Well, but if you don't like it, you can just shave it, no?
He's got sideburns too, so yeah.
Well, he's looking across the dark parking lot in front of the apartment building, and then he says, man, I should do a few more rounds around the compound. Don't know why, but something about tonight feels off in my gut. And my heart.
Yeah. And I know people online were saying that in one of the cars, I'm like, that they thought they saw someone sitting in one of the cars. I'm like, maybe the little hatchback on the right. I guess if you really zoom in, I'm like, it could be like a rendering thing, but that could be a person.
But if they're on the parking lot and they're just sitting in the car, like,
he would be like, why is this dude in the car?
too.
Yeah.
But I sit in my own driveway. I used to sit in my own, now I do it less, but like, because I'm home more often, but I would always, after a long day, I would just sit in my driveway for like half an hour, just like reading stuff, talking to my friend.
I mean, and that's fine, but don't you think the security guy, if there was one, would come and be like, hey, you're a resident? Okay, cool, you know?
Yeah. I mean, he
that's
should
true.
know the cars that are coming in and out of there, and especially because he's supposed to be keeping watch. So he would ultra know the cars that are coming in and out of there. So when someone said that, I was like, I don't know. I think it's just kind of this, maybe a feeling of, they know something's coming, the storm's coming.
It's just, it's so much foreshadowing, and I'm so worried for him. Because like, okay, maybe he's gonna surprise us, and maybe it's gonna show that Gyu actually can kick someone else. But
I don't think Gyu's a weakling. I think he's probably pretty damn tough.
Didn't he beat up Damien, remember, at some point? Yeah.
So I think, I mean, I think you probably have to push him into a corner for him to do it, but I'm pretty sure he can probably take care of himself. But I don't like the fact that it's a dark night, he's alone. Tora's not in town. We don't know where Quincy is. You know what I mean? That's what's making me nervous.
I was speaking with Elizabeth, and she was like, like something along the lines of, this was basically just making me think even more that Gyu was gonna die. And I was like, why would you for me like this? Like, no. I can't.
And we would hear like a collective screech that would just like orbit the earth if Lily kills off Gyu. Like, it would just, he's one of the most popular characters. You know what I mean?
Such a good boy. He never did anything wrong.
Right? He's just been working his butt off nonstop. He does everything. Like, if you really want to wrench out our hearts, go for Gyu. If you want to make us just feel like a little bit upset, take like Brian.
Like, oh, guyliner, oh, boo.
No, not like you.
But Gyu's like works like 16 hours a day or some like ridiculous thing. This is like job number 3, right? Because he had the calf, he had the restaurant, and I think this is probably job number 3. But he's such a good little guy that just works really hard.
No,
he's one of Tora's rocks.
Sorry, I'm just counting. Okay, sorry.
He's like cafe, the restaurant, fancy restaurant.
Right, the bar and bistro, and then the tech jobs. So security. Was there another restaurant? Maybe not.
There's half where he's doing coffee or whatever.
But,
I mean, and he's one of Tora's rocks. You know, he's super dependable and reliable, and that's who Tora's like. If he needs something reliable and quick, and that he can trust. This is his go-to person, is Gyu.
Yeah. If someone does show up at the apartment, who do you think? Or like, who do you think sent them?
And I'm racking my brain, like, okay, how? I know we're all doing, like, how do they know about Poppy? How do they have, to the point where they know where she lives, they're watching her, I'm like, what was the giveaway that this was someone, extremely important to Tora?
Well,
I mean, or is it just Gil?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Gil right now is the one, he would have her address, that's for sure.
Yeah. But then we also don't know who Gil's in bed with either.
Yeah.
Yet. Gil said he would take action, and he's really upset with Poppy. And this was the thing. Gil knows she's out of town because she had to tell work that she wasn't going to be there.
Yeah, true.
So if he were to go himself, or I think maybe he would send someone to Poppy's place, I think it would be Gil. But for what reason?
Yeah, because he has the notebook, right?
Or what's he going to do with it in Poppy's apartment? Like plant it there and then call the police and tell them to find it?
Or call
and then maybe blame. Remember, I think we talked about this on a previous podcast, that maybe he'd want to blame her for his crimes, because that's what his wife kind of suggests. It looks like he kind of thought of that based on what his wife was saying, to try to blame her. Something about like sitting in jail or something, and I think like we took from that he was like, oh, I can pin my crimes on someone else and let them sit in jail for me. So
I mean, he could try, but that would just be so stupid, because she's only been in Nairn City for 3 months, and then she was in college. You know what I mean? It would have to be, he'd have to plan it in so many levels.
That's true.
What I'm worried about is like, he's going to plant the notebook and then sends a different gang out, and here's the notebook, and this is the chick that had the notebook, stole the notebook, and she's connected with, Goliath, That he doesn't know, right? Like, because Tora
specifically didn't go in, like Quincy said, good call not coming in today, because if he's not on high alert after seeing me, he would be after seeing you. So from what I gathered, Gil doesn't know yet who Quincy is. He doesn't know that Quincy is South human. He just knows that Quincy is bad news for him.
Yeah. Like Quincy saw through him. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know that like, because the Walmart Joker, he made money off of revealing one name, right? He apparently crazy rich.
Yeah.
So Gil probably wouldn't want to show that he has all of the information because it makes him a target. But what if he wants to like bleed out the information bit by bit, you know? But still, why would he need Poppy's apartment for it? I feel like it might be Gil just because of where this season has been going, but then Lily often brings back things from like way back, and there's been so much set up before that we haven't addressed yet.
And it could just be that Gil's just completely psycho and he just wants to wait for Poppy in her apartment just to like hurt her, to harm her. You know what I mean? Just out of sheer frustration. And he's just that messed up in the head. Like, we don't know.
That messed up. I think that requires a level of stupidity that he wouldn't have achieved. Like, he wouldn't have gotten where he is now if he was that irrational and emotional. He would have been in jail already, you know.
And he knows, like, if he wants to hurt her, he wouldn't go when she's in there.
Yeah.
I just don't know. I'm so scared of next week because I also don't know, like, are we going to continue with Gil? Are we going to continue with Poppy and Tora?
Yeah, I mean, are we going to get like, he walks into her grand's house and da-da-da-da-da, and then we see something happening to Gil, so we have like, oh, they're kissing again, and then there's this Gil bomb. You know what I mean?
Oh.
Yeah.
I hope not.
I hope but she wouldn't give us the Gil bomb and then the kissing. I don't think Lily would. It would be the like softer blow, I think, because it would be like, oh no, Gil is hurt, but also they're kissing, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm terrified.
And at some point we have to see Goliath. Like, where's he gonna come in?
Yeah.
When are we gonna see who's chasing him and what happened to him in the jungle?
I know, like, Joker Man was one of the guys that was chasing him because that distinctive haircut.
Really?
So yeah, when you go back and look, he's got that really distinctive face. So that's why I thought at the end of last season, I was like, oh, it's that creep that was rude to his mom.
Oh, the season finale, I mean. Was that when it was?
I don't think so. I'm scrolling back to see it, but he also does not strike me as the kind of guy to be in the field. Like, he seems so like an unmotivated couch potato.
Where is Goliath anyway? This is still like, he's in the tropics somewhere. I don't know.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. He's so pretty. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I see what you're saying. Like, he has but this Jared Sorlito had just a mohawk. This guy has a man bun.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. I love man buns, even if they're criminals. Sorry.
Wow. Man.
Yeah, I mean, obviously she's setting a lot up, and it's probably going to be fast. Like, what's coming. So.
Plus, Quincy did the foreshadowing too, with, you know, saying like, oh, things are coming to a head.
Her life is in danger. Yeah.
I mean, none of that is for no reason. That's obviously her setting all of this up.
I was really thinking that we were going to have maybe like a 3-season arc, but now I'm like, maybe it's only 2 because things are starting a lot spicier than I expected and not in the sexy kind.
I don't know. I want more than 2
Ready
seasons.
for whatever it is.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my god, this was
I
amazing.
don't really care about the theory so much. I'm like, I want to be excited and surprised. Whatever happens, I will be happy or sad, depending on what happens.
Like,
and I mean, even when we kind of like are right with theories, I mean, everyone knew that Gil was shady and that he had the notebook, right? But then when that's revealed to be true, there's still more, you know? There's like, oh wait, Quincy and Tora actually knew about it. Oh, like Ardeen and Jacob knew stuff as well. Like, it's so wild, you know, that there's always something that she surprises us with, even on.
And Ardeen's dad having connections.
Yeah. And the fact that like mafia, like, oh, it's just a regular thing. Like everyone deals with the mafia here. Like, okay then.
It's like 1920 Chicago. Here we are. Yeah. Everyone's in the mob or connected to the mob or corrupted by the mob. Yeah.
I keep thinking I have to like censor what I say, you know, because I'm like, oh, I can't say things that are in fast pass episodes. But I'm like,
Yes, all fast pass. Yep.
We'll have to
Well,
see.
guys, do you want to move on to the bonus question?
Sure.